And there I am. Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Mika here at Leap Taken. I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And I got a couple different things I'm going to talk about today for Witchy Review. The main book that we're going to talk about is the Grimoire Girl, creating an inheritance of magic and mischief. I I kept saying, I'm trying to get to the cover so I can show you. This is the book. If you've seen it, the link is in the description for if you want to get it on Amazon. Obviously, I got the Kindle version. I wonder if it looks better this way on the actual Kindle. I go back and forth between my iPad and my Kindle. Hey, Gemstones. Yeah, maybe this is a little less. Oh, this is even more shiny. But anyway, I was trying to figure out which was the best way to view it, to show it. But this is the cover for the Grimoire Girl. So Hillary Burton Morgan, you may know her from One Tree Hill and a host of other, she's an actress, by the way, of different other, projects, movie projects, TV shows, and stuff like that. I believe she is also a producer, after just reading her book. This book is not about, her acting, by the way. This book is about her setting up, wanting to leave behind a grimoire, so to speak, creating an inheritance of magic and mischief. Um, this book, as I began to read it, was an easy read for me. I fell in deep um, immediately reading the book. I'll be honest, I really did. I got some things I bookmarked here, and I just want to, let's see here, when she said, if our lives are our greatest art projects, let's go crafting. I like that. Anyway, but that was one of the first things that I looked at, because I was like, this woman is hilarious, by the way. She's really funny. The book is funny. There's cursing in it. Um, anyway, I really got into the book in the beginning. So let me just explain a little bit. So this is a work of nonfiction. She's talking about magic. She's talking about religion. She's talking about mythology. She's talking about creating, um, how she's created a life and how she's cataloging that with the intention of having something left behind, something tangible, to give as an inheritance. So her children would know who she was, and people to come. And then we explore, as you continue to read, that it's not just about a physical book per se. For some people, their grimoire could be their garden. Um, and there's stories of all these different avenues her life took. um, it's interesting. Some stories really had me thinking, and it some parallels. She grew up a lot different than me, so not quite, but there were some things, because we're from pretty much the same generation. So there's some overlap of some things that I thought were similar to my upbringing. And yeah, so I enjoyed most of the book. I'm gonna say that. You could tell I'm I'm leading to something. So I'm getting through the book. I get to one section of the book, and it's around page 60 or so out of a book that's more than 200 pages. And this is where things get a little haywire for me. So I'm trying to get to the section. Yeah, I'm going to read an excerpt from the book. She's in this section, she's talking about poetry. And how poetry can be magical. And I agree, song lyrics, she actually mentions that as well. I strongly believe turning song lyrics into spells and things like that. So I'm definitely a fan of that. So I'm going to read something to you and let me know your thoughts. Now, this is fairly in the beginning of the book. So, how do you connect poetry and spell work? Well, practitioners of psalmic magic, I had never heard that before. Maybe you have. Psalmic, like the book of Psalms in the Bible, Psalms. Psalmic magic have pretty much figured it out. The book of Psalms in the Bible is some of the most beautiful poetry that's ever been written. Some people read it like it's a story. Others put it in music. Coolio's Gangster Paradise. Anyone? Psalm 23. Next. But practitioners of psalmic magic understand that each verse is its own powerful spell, that words divined by God have meaning and intention. This started off as a medieval Jewish tradition honoring the Old Testament. But the practice of using psalms as protection spells, stay with me, made its way to Europe and eventually was brought over to Appalachia. Appalachia, like the Appalachian Mountains, Appalachia, by way of immigrants. I'm going to repeat this. But the practice of using psalms as protection spells made its way to Europe and eventually was brought over to Appalachia by way of immigrants. Okay, she keeps going. That's all we're going to talk about. That's where she talks about that. So I get to that section and I'm just staring and I'm like, and I was reading this week. I met with my coven and we talked and I was having trouble with this and I couldn't seem to get past this. And they were like, well, hold on. Hold on. Are we skipping over the entire practice of hoodoo and African Americans in this country? Oh, fix my shirt. In this country and how the Book of Psalms was used for protection. And I felt that was very interesting. I've never read in modern books talking about using the Bible as spell, for specifically the Book of Psalms, right? I've never heard anyone or read anything where people just completely skip over that part. I find that interesting. Now, we would come back as we read the book, talk about, because I believe she says she grew up in Virginia. So we would come back, talk about, old folk magic from the Appalachian area and all that sort of stuff, folk magic, and how, what they called granny magic. And she references that as well. So it immediately, when I read things, fiction or nonfiction, sometimes it like triggers a memory. I like when things like that happen because I can absorb the work in a different sort of way. So I remember, I don't even know what year this is. I can't even remember. It was a while ago. I'll just say that. I don't even think we were in 2010. I think it was before then. Maybe 2010. I don't know. I wish one of my kids, my daughter, not, well, only one of my kids seems to remember the dates of things. Anyway, I was living and I've only heard the Psalms using for magic and hoodoo. Exactly. I found that a very interesting approach. Um, but anyway, so I'm living in Naples, Florida. Naples, Florida is just under, well, not just under, but it's past Tampa as you go further down Florida. It's on the Gulf Coast, which beautiful sunsets. Naples, Florida, specifically at that time, you have people with a lot of money. I wasn't a rich person, but we did okay. It was very, at that time, that was very much middle class. But we lived in this in unit, beautiful townhouse that was 10 minutes from the beach, right? I only got a chance to live there for just over a year. Curses. I wanted to live there longer. I didn't want to leave. I kind of fell in love with Naples, Florida. Anyway, being in Naples, Florida, a couple things, my life was very interesting there. One, I was spending a lot more time, I was homeschooling. I did work part time, but I worked from home. And I feel like this is a key because I had a lot of time, but I also, had additional money. Um, and at the time, then married, the husband that I was married, he was traveling a lot for work. So I was really on my own a lot. And I do well on my own, by the way. I've discovered that, but that's not part of the story. But one of the things is, when he would come back, we would try to find activities and stuff like that to do. So I had more time on my own, so I had more time to look at more witchy stuff. So I found out there was this pagan fair festival, situation happening somewhere in the middle of Florida. I don't even remember the town. and I go there, and I had never been. So at this point, I'm very much a witch. I call myself a witch. So if this is around 2000, yeah, I'm calling myself a witch. Maybe not to everybody else in the world, but like I'm anybody who really is in my inner circle, I'm a witch. You know this. So mostly, yeah, most of the people in my inner circle. I just realized maybe not everybody, but anyway, so I go to this pagan festival, and in the middle of Florida, and I remember what I had on. I was so excited to go. I was so excited to finally be amongst other pagans and witches, and just be in that environment. So I go, and I remember there was a workshop. I went to several different workshops, but this one was learning folk magic and hoodoo. I was very curious. As I walked around, there's a sea of European American faces. I don't remember really seeing any African American faces. So, cool. It kind of goes with the territory. Unfortunately, one, I'm in the middle of Florida, somewhere in like central. I'm saying middle Florida, central Florida, and it's given rural because it's like all this land that they set everything up on. Um, Probably not a lot of African Americans in that area. Cool, no worries. Um, a lot of African Americans at this time maybe you're not wanting to go to a pagan festival. Um, so I don't see very many. I believe like I might have spot one or two, maybe. I don't even remember. I'm guessing here. Um, so why do I bring this up? So I go to this. So I walk in and it's a tent. They have these makeshift tents up, and we go in. It was great just to get out of the sun. I sit down, and there's tables because we're gonna do something, a craft or something, a hoodoo spell. And here comes this man, European American man, with a southern accent, and he is from the. He said he starts explaining to me about granny magic. This is the first time I really heard, like, I or maybe I paid attention because maybe I have heard it, but I didn't pay attention. So now I'm paying attention because he's got a captive audience and several of us in this space. I'm sitting there, I'm listening, and I would hear something I'd never heard, or that you know what? No, I hadn't heard it before. So that's fair. I hadn't heard about that granny magic, and I only heard about hoodoo from black folk. I had never heard about white people up in the mountains of Appalachia doing this. So no, I did not know. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and the irony is never leaving me that I am one, the only African American person sitting in this tent at this time, as this European American man is breaking down hoodoo. He didn't just there was granny magic, and he was differentiating hoodoo from that as he would explain and give me information. And in that moment, I thought to myself a couple different things. One, I was grateful of even getting this information. That's why I wanted to come. So I wasn't upset that he was not, didn't look like me. That wasn't my issue. My issue is as I read this book, the same thing happened. I don't like that I don't know these things automatically. I don't like that so much of what is actual real history for so many people who do look like me. It's so much misconstrued information, and you know just ignorance, and just completely just not sharing information, that I have to go to Central Florida in front of an older European American man and get information that I, I wish I got from my granny. I wish I got from my people, my older aunties. But I digress. As I read this book, I would be struck with that those emotions, that feeling over and over again. So when I get to her section, this section of the book, and she's making this reference to Samic magic, I believe that she's going by what she's been told and by what people have told her. So that's what she's doing. I don't think this particular woman has like, I don't think she's willfully trying to take out um, hoodoo. I don't. I actually don't. And I'm going to go by my instincts, my intuition. I don't believe that's what she was doing in this book based on her life and her acceptance of certain things. Um, I don't feel that at all. I just feel like there's so many of us, we just don't, you don't know what you don't know. It's possible she just doesn't understand because the circle she's been in, no one's highlighted that to her. So when she sits down, it feels like, yeah, I got great information for this book and I want to share it. Um, but if you don't expand what she talks about, and grow and put yourself out there in different circles and things like that, you may never know. I was someone who was willing to put myself in different circles. I was willing to travel to Central Florida to be in, a makeshift, these tents and these people who don't look like me and who are totally, everybody. No, I did not have a negative experience. No one treated me bad or anything like that. But I was willing to venture out because I wanted to learn and I wanted to be in a space with other people, and I really didn't care if they didn't share the same melanin richness as myself. Um, I would say to this author, it's apparent you might need if you do another book, you might want to be around. She's around a lot of different people. She talks about her different experiences, and some people are people of color, from what I've gathered from the book. But she doesn't specifically say, "Oh, my black friend" or "the black lady that did my makeup." She doesn't reference people like that, so I don't know. I have to infer. Just listening to how she's referencing people and that they are people of color. I would just say maybe take it a step further and step out, maybe a little bit more into people who are considered African American, and maybe learn, because I was able to learn. I learned a lot that day. I was a little, like I said, the irony was the teacher, but I learned a lot that day in that workshop. But anyway, I was struck with remembering that. And once I remembered that, I think that I kind of paused. I took a day from reading this book, and I had been devouring all of her words because I was like, oh, this is such a fresh take. I like what she's writing. I like her views. Now, I took a day because I was a little I am getting spam called. Anyway, I was getting a little I don't know. I got a little upset about that that passage that I read to you. I did. It bugged me. It was bugging me. And coming into a full moon in Leo, I was on fire. I've been on fire. So fire, us fire signs. A fire can go from passion and excitement to anger very quickly. So I needed to just like redirect some of that energy because, and I was able to come back to the book and actually finish the book. But that's how annoyed I got by that section. But moving on, that is the thing that I didn't like um, about this book. But I see it as missed information because she didn't have the information. I read the entire book in its entirety, so I don't feel that there's some sort of like intentional thing happening. I don't believe that at all. I just think she just doesn't know. But outside of that, I love how she's sharing. What'd you say? Although maybe they do in Italian witchcraft because they have used saints and magic for years, right? It's interesting that you said I saw Italian and jumped out at me. Gemstones is because she talks a lot about how she was influenced by reading like this book about Italian folk magic. Um, and I found that interesting as well because at one point in my spiritual journey, I also was influenced by reading a book about Italian folk magic. I found that very interesting, and I was drawn to that. And I used to always wonder, like, the things that I'm drawn to. Do I have some sort of like, I don't know, ancestral ties to this, or do I just find it fascinating? Probably a little bit of both. I ran my ancestral DNA. I don't appear to have any ancestral link to Italy at all. But technically, from my understanding, at least southern Italy, the most of the people who were there do have ties to. countries, you know, DNA found in Africa. So there you go. So maybe that's the link. Um, I don't know. From my understanding of the Italians I know growing up in South Jersey, they don't really like being tied. Sicilians specifically, the ones that I've encountered, they didn't really like the idea of being tied to Africa. So, you know, I found that out also. But anyway, moving on. Um, Outside of that, like I said, the book really just her writing style is narrative, and it's very personal. She talks about her love of like old school letter writing and sending, you know, postcards and letters, and it reminded me how I used to really enjoy the idea of writing letters to people. um, there is something very intimate about letter writing. You have someone's handwriting, you know, it's that's intimate, and I share that sentiment. There's something about that. She also talks about receiving a letter in the mail. Let me tell you, my grandmother used to send a birthday card via mail every year that I could remember, especially when I moved to. She would send she would always handwrite something in there, even if it's just "I love you, happy birthday, may God bless you," something like that. And I know my grandmother's handwriting, even though I haven't lived back in Jersey in such a long time. I know I can see it in my mind. I see her handwriting because of all the cards and all the notes and all the things. I've always seen her handwriting. I write like my grandmother. I see it, and I realize, yeah, if I tried, I could probably like mimic her handwriting. We write very similar. The handwriting, I recognize it like mine's and hers and my mom's. That's even crazier. So having something like that is so personal and so intimate. And I realized I like the idea of letter writing, and I might start that up again. And she was talking about like pen pals, and I remember being younger and I wanted a pen pal. Um, I wanted to write to someone. I was always, when she talks in this book, like basically this, as young people, just being so curious and just wanting to have these experiences, and you're not jaded with the real any sort of like negative possible influence or something could go wrong with what you're trying to do. It all just seems so fun and mystical. And she even talks about being a kid. Hi, Joey PK. Oh, thank you. Love to you too. um, but she talks about this sort of stuff about like just, I don't know, the curiosity and just being young. At one point she lived in a haunted house. She realized the house was haunted, and she lived next door to a guy. He was a rabbi, and he said yes, this house was haunted. But it wasn't just haunted, like it was an artist who had lived there, and prior to then, you know, she had a mentor. This famous artist, her name was Hester. I can't for life remember the last name right now, but read the book, you'll know. It's just these interesting stories that are framing the types of things that she puts in her grimoire. And I'm working on a legacy grimoire. Reading this has just reaffirmed I'm on the right um, foot with that. I'm taking the right path with that, because I want it to be narrated mixed with spells and then a little bit about me. And she talked about like basically bragging on yourself in your grimoire. Share those things, share the things. And she kind of gave a list of like stuff she did, like, oh, I, you know, hosted New Year's Eve for Rockin' Eve or whatever she did. I forgot what it was. And then like from that to like, um, I went to the Olympics and I, you know, they taught me how to bobsled, but I messed up and I dented something, and it took them overnight to fix it for the actual games the next day. Like those sort of anecdotes and stuff like that. Anyway, I I love that. I love that a lot. Anyway, um, but listen to this quote. There's so many just good quotes in this book too. My candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night, but ah, my foes, and oh, my friends, it gives a lovely light. um, I love this so much. This is she said my favorite poem of all time is Witch Wife by Edna St. Vincent Millay. She says she had memorized it the first moment she had read it. She memorized it. It felt like it was written especially for her. And then she said, First Fig is a poem I love so much by the same person, Millay. First Fig is a poem I love so much that I've used it on all my social media handles. First of all, I'm going to reread it again because I love this. My candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night. But ah, my foes, and oh, my friends, it gives a lovely light. And she's saying she's justifying her manic behavior, giving the bird to her enemies and delighting in this lovely light of her labor. It's a little thing you can chant to yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed, knowing that your work, any work, is good work. Whether you're scrubbing toilets at home, making big sales, or creating art, burning your candle at both ends is a gift. The exhaustion is a gift. And I love the framing of this so much. And she even goes on, so much of magical thinking is about controlling the lens through which you see things. And this is something I talk about. This is something I truly believe to heart. So this is what I mean. I got over that hiccup and then I got more entrenched into this book. Um, and I'm like, whoa, this is a core belief for me. It's all about the lens you're looking at things. That is the difference with a lot of people who approach magic and want to be, to be a witch, or they say they're a witch. And I see that when I talk about living a magical lifestyle, I've had to create contact lenses basically to create that magic. And eventually, over time, those contact lenses, if you keep them in long enough, they're almost like permanent, and you don't have to keep adjusting and putting them in and out and trying to do this life thing. My lens is magical, even in the mundane, even in sadness, even in anger. I talk a lot about using my anger to fuel other work or to fuel something, energy, or even if I don't want to, because sometimes I'm so angry, I don't want to use it productively. And that's also natural, by the way. I need to let that out. And if it's punch in the air, if it's movement, it's always going to be movement as an Aries. I need to do something. If I'm just sitting for too long and I'm not moving, I could become possibly homicidal. I gotta do so. I gotta get up and do something. I gotta go for a walk, something. But with sadness, which I'm not really a fan of, who is, but I'm definitely not good with those emotions, and that's something I'm working on. Having days where I just feel sad about something, whether it's my own or, because I am an empath and I shield a lot. I'm learning to lower the shields a little bit because I can't just be okay with anger. I got to be okay. That's where a lot of masculine traits come into my sign. That's where it shows up because I struggle with feeling other emotions that are, kind of the bottom emotions, like sadness and depressed, or you know vulnerable, basically. I don't like those. I don't like that very much. I'm not comfortable, but I'm learning. Part of some of the things I've been doing in my healing work is learning to get comfortable and just sit. It makes me very antsy to feel that way, and I will rationalize my emotions by basically just talking out the feelings, like, oh wow, you feel really upset, I wonder why you feel that way. I'm not feeling anything, I'm just rationalizing it away. And then after a while I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I don't like feeling like this, so let's just go do something different so we don't feel like this is like a dialogue in my head. And I'm like, yeah, we're not going to do this. And I will distract myself and remove myself, um, metaphorically, from whatever it is that's making me feel any kind of way. I'll literally change my location even within my house, because I don't want to be alone with those thoughts and those emotions. That is something that I have started to allow the feelings to just exist, stop analyzing, and just let it happen, which I'm not comfortable at all with, but as something I realize is an important task for me, in my development, as a witch, continue as a witch, as a human, that I need to feel the full myriad of emotions that I can express and not suppress them, because that's not healthy. You could make it really personal and narrative about your experience. Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. Imagine creating a journal or grimoire and having a letter that you write tucked in there. She talks about that, by the way. Doing stuff like that, like she's gotten a letter and she tucked it away. And that just got my heart. So I was like, maybe we should start up like a witchy pen pal. Now, listen, it's scary in the world that we live in. providing an address. I have a post office box, so I can shield myself a little bit. And my post office box is not where I live either. So I have to try, because when we first moved here, I had to get a post office box. I don't live where but I kept the box, so I just would use that. But maybe, I don't know. Let me know if here now, or if you're watching this on a replay, like, and when I mean that, like, what would you talk about? I'm not asking you to pour out your life story. I'm not asking for you to, because I'm not going to be doing that. But like, just little things. For instance, some of the things, she had a friend who um, knew would oh dang it, what was the other? Oh, a friend had died, and she started writing her daughters, and her friends' daughters would their mother talked about like fairies and that sort of stuff, and she was a magical type of person and whimsical, and they would write her. She said they continued to write her about that sort of stuff, like, oh, I know I saw mom. I'm pretty sure mom communicated. She had died, unfortunately. And she was like, I imagine the letters were something like, I saw something, a little light or something like that. And I know that's mom coming back, like from the Fae, or I don't know, something like that. Or just your experiences, just a little, it doesn't have to be a big thing. She even talked about using postcards if you're not wanting to commit to an entire letter. And you just a little note or something. Do you know how sweet that is? And just like, I don't know. I would like that. That would make me happy. Yeah, share your witchy things. And I'm glad you think that sounds like fun. I like that. I think that would be sweet. I don't want, I get emails. A letter takes energy, it takes time. You got to get a stamp, you got to have stationery. You want to have, and then you start thinking about stationery. You're like, hey, I don't want to just use a piece of copy paper. Maybe I want to use something else. You might enchant your paper for the purpose of sending, healing energy. Imagine, you get the letter and it's like, oh, I've been under the weather, I'm on the mend, I hope my letter finds you well. Let me tell you about this magical experience I had, or this dream that I had that was so profound, and I think it was a part of me, getting better. I felt like my ancestors came to me or something like that. And then you get that letter and you're like, wow, okay, so she's on the mend. So what if you, I don't know, I'm just thinking of like some herb or something like that, and you sprinkle it a little bit on the letter, just some dried herbs, something that's known for further healing, and you say something back and you send it. Isn't that nice? And then you have a little grimoire that you keep all these letters in. I don't know. I can become very romantic about this sort of stuff. I do like this, and it would be nice. I'm gonna think on this and see if this is something that you get, like in the planner world they call it happy mail, but we get witchy mail and just letters and like a little tarot card or something like that. Nothing too expensive or crazy that you wouldn't mind if it got lost in the mail, but just like a witchy pen pal situation. Yeah, right. Anyway, let's I'm gonna take that, and I really want to look into that. But that quote, the candle burns at both ends, and basically describing like a manic episode, but in such a with flowery language, and it's just so sweet. And we've all had moments of feeling like you're doing a lot of things at once and you're burning the candle at both ends. But what about those times? Because we in our society we talk a lot about work-life balance, and we hear the negative things, but what about the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the people who were trying to live a creative life, and their business is creativity work? So when they burn the candles at both ends, it is literally a labor of love. So that quote makes sense for somebody like me who is living their life that way. So sometimes I'm spending a lot of time on something, I'm working on it, and I'm realize I have other things that I also need to work on, and I'm splitting my focus, and I have personal life, and I'm trying to give the people in my life my attention and my time, and I do, and because I would like them to do the same for me. And I do feel like I'm burning the candles at both ends, and I feel like I'm not balanced at all in those moments. And but it is, but if you were to see me in my prime in those moments, I do know it is a beautiful sight of wild hair and my glasses on and off, because depending on what I'm looking at, I need them, and other times I don't. And you know, um, there's my ever present a glass of wine, because by this point it's the evening. At this point, I have a glass of wine, but at the same time, I'm like fueling with some crazy energy. So the wine is not mellowing me at all. That's what it's been like these past couple days, by the way, leading up to the full moon, and it's a sight to see. I know, because if I get a glimpse of myself, I see this wild woman, and that's the me, the wild woman I see that comes out, and all these locks are giving very, Medusa esque, looking. I see that view. I see so many iterations of myself. I see the little girl, I see the teenager, I see the young 20 something, I see the more short 30 something, I see the early 40s woman, and I see the noun and that culmination and all the potential I knew was there, just right there staring back at me. And it's beautiful. So I encourage you, if you do sometimes feeling overwhelmed, with a lot of projects, a lot of work, and a lot of things. If you love it, if you're into it, of course, find time for self care and breaks, but it can't be all the time. But there are going to be times that is what it is. And boy, and by the way, work can be taking care of your family. Anybody got any like kids under five, more than one? Um, Not everybody hates being a mother. Not everybody detests it. Yes, it's overwhelming, and there are parts that are not fun. But when you are in the thick of it, and I remember those days when I was in the thick of it, and I had, she talks about having a coven, or a friend group, basically your coven, who get that, who are right there with you when they're going through those same things. Man, it's a wild moment. You get a glimpse of yourself, and you're like, who is this lady staring back at me? But you can also see the beauty in that. I sprained my, oh no, you sprained your ankle. So I'm a bit overwhelmed trying to get around. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Um, I'm definitely sending healing energy to you, gemstones. I do wish everything mends well. I hope that, the time that you get is necessary to heal, and all will be well. That's what I wish to you. I send to you. Okay, so let me get back to this. So she talked about that. I love the way she just talks about magic, and it's just so like laced in. There's no definitive section where it's like, oh, this is where she's talking about the spells, or this is where she's talking about the magic. This book is not like that. It's just you read it. It just flows. You're welcome. It just flows, and I love that too. That's my style. Um, if you haven't noticed, I don't really just go take a straight direction. I veer off into these side quests and tangents. That's how my mind works. So reading it like this was just 100%. It just thrilled me, um, that's how she read it. Um, what was the other thing on here that I wanted to talk about? Here we go. Oh, I wanted to come back to the Appalachian Mountains because she references it again. So I'm just going to read this here. So yeah, where she talks about so this is, yeah, I found this interesting. She talked about she had a relative. Now, in this, another parallel, as well, is her grandmother or her grandparents. She didn't know her grandparents. She didn't really have family. Her mother and father sort of just didn't have a relationship with their other relatives. So she grew up not really just having cousins and, this big family thing. It was just her and her parents, basically. It wasn't this other extended family group. And now I had that. I had cousins and all that sort of stuff. But one thing I have been thinking about a lot lately, and there's other members of my family, we have a genealogist in our family as well, is why don't I know my immediate, beyond my immediate family? Basically, my great grandfather and great grandmother moved from Florida by way of initially Georgia to New Jersey, southern New Jersey, outside of Philadelphia, right? So I know they had their children, um, three girls, one boy. So everybody down from those children, they're, those four children, which my grandmom is part of it. I know those people, their offspring. I don't know anything else outside of that. I don't know anybody else. And it never dawned on me until later in life. Why don't I know anything beyond that? Like, did my grandmother have a sister? Did my grandfather have a brother? Who are these people? And then one day I started talking to my grandmother, and she told me she didn't meet her grandmother until like they moved to New Jersey. She doesn't remember her before then. So I was like, wait, now hold on, hold on, hold on. And her mother um, had gotten sick over pregnancy, and it was real bad. So she came up to New Jersey, and she said, I didn't know. And I said, well, why didn't you ask? And she said, you didn't do that back then. You didn't ask questions like that. So I'm reading this book, and this woman is talking about how her parents, they didn't talk about it. And there was like this, in like the dining room or living room or something like that, there was this cabinet, just, like a display cabinet. And in there, the drawer, she felt like that was where the secrets were buried about who the rest of the people in the family were. And she got a glimpse once. So she saw like an old picture and somebody holding her and, something like that. So she knows there's these people out there that she's related to. I don't even question why she didn't explore more with her parents, because I understand why. First of all, as a child, it's kind of, when you, as an adult, sometimes we forget on, you don't order your thoughts in the way you do as an adult. So you don't think to ask those questions. Um, and then once you get older and those teenagers, you're kind of really self-absorbed and you're not really focused too much on that sort of stuff. You might offhandedly ask something, but if you sense the tone is where people, they're not sharing information, you kind of just move on. Remember, you're self-absorbed, so you don't really care that much anyway. Your 20s is a whole nother life. But in her youth and so forth, she did wonder, and she did have some questions. And same for me on, why don't I know? Like, who are these people? And then you begin to use your imagination, and they become something else. Um, so that was another parallel as I read this book. Like, yeah, why don't I know? Now, since then in my life, fortunately, my she as well, because of social media, Facebook, she's found cousins and things like that where you don't, you see them through Facebook, and you're like, oh, congratulations on whatever event that they posted, and you realize you're related to these people. Um, Same is happening in my life on Facebook. I belong to a family group. Come to find I'm related to these other people that I didn't know, and I was like, I don't even know. And they're, by the way, they're back in Florida. A lot of people in Florida and Georgia. So I was like, wow, okay. And I lived in Florida all those years. Interesting. So I'm gonna get back to this because I'm me and my tangents. So she's talking about, she finds out through a relative about an old auntie who knew how to heal burns, and it was magic, and she was like a Appalachian Mountain witch, granny magic. So I'm gonna read. So this is what she's talking about. And then she says, the 1700s saw the arrival of Irish and Scottish settlers in the Appalachian Mountains, and much the same way Christianity was blended with African traditions in Haiti to establish voodoo, the Europeans brought their faith to these hills and combined their beliefs with the knowledge of the Native American communities. Okay, so she's referenced Hoodoo. So by this point, and we're on at this point on page like 74. So I was able to continue reading the rest of the 226 words at that point, because I was like, okay, all right. So and that's when I made a decision. She may not understand that first part of what she said, but anyway. And I continued to read, and I was like, okay. Um, this was a very interesting book, y'all. I cannot express to you enough how much of I enjoyed this book. I don't want to give too much away. It was a good read, though. It was a really good read, and I would strongly suggest, if you are interested in kind of, my great grandmother used to read the tea leaves at parties. Oh, that's sweet. She talked about throwing parties and stuff like that in her haunted house, and how she there's so many little things I can't express to you enough. But when you said that, it made me think about this. The haunted house that she lived in. She now lives on a farm with her husband, who's also an actor. I didn't look up to see who he is. I probably know him. She said he was on The Walking Dead. I don't know. I didn't watch The Walking Dead, so over my head. Anyway, but and I faintly remember who this woman is. I know I've seen her. I didn't watch One Tree Hill, but I know I've seen her before. She also said that she was like I we know this lady, right? We know her. She was on White Collar as well. Anyway, fascinating woman, fascinating book. Like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but it's a really interesting book. So I want to switch gears now and talk about my little mini haul that I got at Barnes and Noble. So we're gonna look at this together. I haven't even opened it. So you see, it was $12. Edgar Allan Poe Tarot. Fun fact: in I think it was middle school, I remember it was raining outside that day, and they talked about Edgar Allan Poe. Pretty sure it was middle school. At least my memory thinks it is. And we had to read Edgar Allan Poe, and I fell in love. The Telltale Heart. Like, I love those books. That was my favorite part. And I realized also in that moment how much I loved literature as well. And I was learning so many things. So that is where, up until that point, I had only had discovered romance, Harlequin romance novels. And I had, like, murder mysteries, Agatha Christie novels. I had liked that. But this took it up a notch. This would always forever stay with me, Edgar Allan Poe, those stories. I enjoyed reading it. I used to read them over and over again. It appealed to the darker part of me, that there was nothing else out there, that it wasn't scary to me. It was enchanting. It was, I delighted in it. It was so rich. It was like a decadent dessert reading his stuff, and I loved devouring it. And I loved how it made me feel little tingles of little bit, just a little bit scared, and just is so enchanted. So there will always be a special place in my heart for that. So when I saw that there would be tarot cards for Edgar Allan Poe, of course I had to get into it. So the full, you know, look at this. I can't. I haven't looked through these, so we're gonna look at them together. The Magician. So he's sitting up there. Look at this. So that's the High Priestess. So at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and start reading some Edgar Allan Poe. Some of those works because I'm already enchanted again. The Empress. I'm trying to hold off on this glare. The Emperor. Okay. I'll just go through the major arcana here. The Hierophant. The Lovers. Once I got into this, if goth was more of an option for me, let me tell you something. If it was available to me at the time, if I had access, I'm not saying people were doing punk, goth, and all that for a long time. If it was available to me, if it was accessible to me, if I basically was like around a group or a friend group or some kind of person who could show me the way, this would have did it. This would have been my foray. I would have definitely started doing it. The Chariot. I definitely would have gone, and I probably would have had a lifelong obsession. Strength. Because boy, did this appeal to that side and made that darker side come out even more. And then I began to like all kinds of stuff. I used to watch the Twilight Zone, the reruns that used to come on TV. Oh my God, I used to love that. What was the other? Dang, it was something else scary that used to come on at night. They were always trying to scare us. Anyway, Wheel of Fortune. I would love that sort of stuff. I watched. We didn't have cable either, so I would just like watch stuff as it came on TV. Justice. Oddly enough, my grandmother had cable, but my mom didn't. The Hangman. Oh my God. It's a cat. You see that? It's a cat. Death. Tales of the Unexpected. Is that what it was? And wasn't it like a Ripley's Believe It or Not show? Anything with like that was just odd curiosities and spooky, but not like directly vintage vibes. I was into that. I still am. I still am. Temperance. I am still into that. I used to love watching old black and white scary like horror movies. Still do. I can still get into that. I still can't. The devil. Interesting, right? The devil card. Um, the tower. The tower is like two mice looking down. Look at this card. This is an interesting card. The star. Of course, everything has like a darker tint, a little ominous look to it, which is the point. The moon. Maybe it was tell. I'm thinking tells of unexpected. Unexpected. Maybe that sounds about right. The sun. I just. I don't know. I like when things trigger my memory of things that I once cherished and loved. Look at Judgment. Judgment is a real, like, that looks serious. I like this card. I like when I'm triggered with old memories of things, like I said, I used to like and I used to adore and I was kind of obsessed with. I tell my daughter this all the time. And then it's just, oh, this is a different approach. Okay, so look at this. This is Ace. Okay, so wait a minute. I'm trying to make sure I understand what I'm looking at here. Because they're eyes. And then the rest are birds. All right, let's look at the book. Let's see what we got here. Do you remember the Twilight Zone episode about the gremlin on the air? Yes, I do. On an airplane wing. I never forgot that. That haunted me. Fun fact, but not fun at the time. I took my first plane ride. I was about in my late 20s. Yeah, I wasn't 30 yet. I was in my late 20s. I took my first plane ride, maybe 27, I think I was, about 26, 27. Anyway, to Phoenix, Arizona, fun fact. And I basically Jedi mind tricked myself to not be afraid. Gold star for me that I figured out how to do that. And I was like, I was so afraid. I was scared as heck. But please know, I kept looking out the window. And I wasn't on the window. I was in the middle, but the thing was open. And I would look out. And that's when the fear would come in. Because I was like, please don't let it be a gremlin out there. Please don't let it be a gremlin out there. That's how much that made an impact on me. To this day, if I'm on an airplane, I always take, like, if I can see the wing, I always look like, don't let it, okay, nothing's out there. I fully expect to see a gremlin ripping out the wing every time I look. That's how much of an impact that episode had on me. So yes, I fully understand. So the minor arcana is a very interesting suit in here. I had to look to see. You may notice that the minor arcana closely resembles the deck of playing cards we use for modern card games like poker, solitaire, and blackjack. There are 4 suits, but instead of diamonds, hearts, spades, and clubs, you'll find in this deck hearts, graves, ravens, and eyes. I love this so much. So anyway, it is a full color guidebook. So let's just start there. And it's like the smooth, like glossy finish pages. So for 12 bucks, I feel pretty, like the cards, I mean, they're not like super thick. You can see this, but you know, it's good enough. It's good enough. They're not tiny. I actually plan on using these cards. And I like the little band that you use to put on the cards. So that is our Edgar Allan Poe Tarot Vintage Horror. Yes, 12 bucks, Barnes and Noble. So let's get into something else. So I picked this up. This actually came out. This was copyright last year. the Mystic Masterclass in Understanding the Cards. So this is the Tarot and Astrology Handbook. This is a heavy book, by the way. So it's, oh, we have small writing. Okay. So it's going to take it, basically, I see now. I did a quick flip through in the store. I'll need my readers for this because you see how small that print is. Um, but it's astrological correlation with the tarot. So like the Hierophant, the astrological correlation is Taurus. This is a great reference book for someone like me. I'm hoping I can get something out of it. I just thumbed through it and it seemed like I can, because I create moon readings based on astrological events, mostly lunar events. So full moon, new moon. So with that, this is a great another reference for me when I'm interpreting and using the readings and creating the spreads as well. So I just thought this was a pretty cool book. Hopefully, and then using astrological transits as well, tarot transit spreads. So this is great. Like I said, this is good inspiration for me. So that's what this book is. I don't know yet. It says decade. Yeah. Oh, decode. Decode the tarot and learn how the cards are influenced by the zodiac from astrological counselor and tarot expert Argus Calde. With this gentle guidance, you'll not only gain in-depth insight into astrology for clearer tarot readings and more accurate analysis of future events, but also build a deeper, more intuitive understanding of the complex cosmic cards, the world around you, and most importantly, yourself. And it goes on. So here we go. So there's that. And then something I'm going to do a review for. I saw this come out. First of all, I was attracted to the cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. I did. By Brie Luna, Blood, Sex, Magic. I saw this and I knew I was going to get it. And I didn't want to, I got the hardback. Beautiful work inside the book. I'm just going to tell you right now. Like the art. Just, it's beautiful. The artwork is beautiful. Just straight out the gate. I will let you know my review of this book next week, or when next review, because I'll have it right by then. So look at this already, and the contents. There's introduction is meaningful rituals. I'm just going to give you an overview. It's split up into blood, sex, magic. So under blood, do you remember who you are? Becoming, ancestral prayer, honor the dead. And then there's more to it. And then sex, revolution, sex magic, Jezebel oil, black magic woman. Going into the magic, just the first few things. The art of ritual, healing is not linear, self-worship, glamour, and beauty. And she goes on. I am really excited to read this book. I cannot wait. I will get into this and I will let you know. And it's just over 200 pages. So it's not, and a lot of it's imagery and things like that. So no, I'm thoroughly looking forward to reading this book. I will definitely let you guys know my review on this. I can't wait. So that was Barnes & Noble. So then I did a little shopping. I went back to this store here in the Phoenix, in East Valley of Phoenix, called Tesso. It's a Japanese market. So my daughter and I, once she awoken from her slumber, we go very late to the store. And look what I got. Hopefully you can see this. This is Kiki's Magic Emporium. So let me take off the plastic so you can see. It's basically those like, you ever see on bookshelves, you have these little made up worlds, rooms and stuff like that on a bookshelf. That's what this is. I know there's a real term for it. I just can't, what is it called? Book something. I forget what it's called, but hopefully you've seen it. I halfway live on TikTok and I've seen a lot of people use it there. Actually, I saw someone on YouTube, so that's not all true. I saw someone on YouTube as well do it. So you basically put it together. So this will be a nice fun project, good for my creative side, good for my mental aptitude as well, to put this together, because I don't do a lot of things where I'm fitting pieces together. We as adults keep doing that, by the way. That's good for your brain health. Anyway, but this is what it is. So I'm gonna construct this together, and I'm gonna put it on my bookshelf, and it's called Kiki's Magic Emporium. So it's like a magic shop, and I'm gonna put this in my shelf. That's nice. Kiki's from Kiki's Delivery Service. I guess so. I should probably know that, right? My daughter helped me pick this out. All right, let me tell you some of the other things. Tell me if it makes sense. Alice's Tea Store, Moses Detective Agency. So those are like the other things that they sell that's on the back. Is that what this is from? Forgive me for not knowing that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to open it. I want to see what, oh, there we go. I want to see what the inside's like. Okay, here we go. So let's see what's inside the box. So we got all these parts. Let's just start there. I don't know what I'm getting myself involved in. I want to be very clear. I don't know. So we have an instruction book. I was like, you know, it never dawned on me that the instructions might not be in English. They are. They are. Oh, so I'm supposed to use glue? Liquid glue is used for wood parts and other materials. Or is there glue in here? Oh, I got a challenge ahead of me. Let's see here. Tips of glue. It's a tips of glue. The types? I don't know what they're saying. Do not use too much glue in case. All right. Okay. Tools not included. Oh, I need tools. I thought it said I wouldn't need any. I'm going to need scissors, a ruler, a knife, digital diagonal cutting pliers. I have that. Round nose pliers. I got that. Needle nose pliers. I'm pretty sure I have that. I don't know. I don't know. These are the instructions. I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to, this is good. This is also good for me to work on my patience and just doing things. I like the idea of building things. This is going to be something. I see that now, that I've committed myself to something. I've really committed myself to something. So, yeah. But it just looks so fun. Oh, the glue's in here. So that's the only thing I don't need. All right, so that's what they meant. Okay, so it's all kinds of bobbles and things in here. I'm not going to disturb it because I feel already a little overwhelmed with this. But I'm also crazy enough to do it. How hard could it be? You know, it says it's for ages 14 plus and up. I mean, if I can't, I should not say that. Later, you'll come like, oh, how'd it go? I don't know. I know I got angry and threw it across the room. No, I'm better. I don't do that anymore. So while I was also there, because I loved these so much, I have these filled up, by the way, with my markers and pens and stuff like that. So I got this the last time I was there. And these are so adorable and I love them so much. I also picked up another one because I actually need it for my other pens, markers. So let's get this one open as well. Can I open it? Oh, it's already open there. So we have this one as well. I have a phone case that is like this, my melody. I have a phone case for this as well. So anyway, this is the inside. I like it because I can put stuff here, and then the pins here. And I do have some other markers that are put away. It's probably not the same Kiki. Okay. That I would like to have here. And I like being able, this makes it so much easier when I want to use my planners and stuff like that, and I'm in like my dining room table or in the living room. I can just take these, and it's so much easier to put everything away. Then while I was there, I picked up this washi. So let's get into it. This washi tape, because your girl's obsessed with washi tape right now. I had a love affair before, and I've rekindled it. All because I looked at some old planner designs that I did, and I have been obsessed since then. But look at these. This is washi. I don't know if you can make that out too much. So we have these smaller ones as well. All right, so that's the first. Then we have the skinny ones. Yeah, it's hard to show washi on camera this way, but hopefully you can see. And then we have these. So it's a good amount of washi that I got. This was just a couple bucks too. I'm kind of in love with this store. I like it so much. Tesso. I am not one of the cool kids, so I didn't know anything about this stuff. My daughter is one of those cool kids. She would laugh if I said that. She'd be like, don't say that. Anyway, and she, because of her, I know to go here. And my other purchase, which I don't need, I don't even know what I'm going to use it for, but how could I not buy this notebook? Is this just so cute? It's too cute. It's just lined paper. I'm not even like a crazy Hello Kitty fan. Like, I don't, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But, ooh, gotta stop that. Anyway, but I love Hello Kitty designs still. I do love them. I'm not like a big collector, but I do love it. I probably will become one because I'm loving this so much. I don't know what I'm going to use this notebook for just yet. I'll be honest, I don't know, but I will be using it. It doesn't matter. At the top, I don't know if you can see it. There's like, it says date, and they have, I don't know, it's like in really small writing. But anyway, maybe a journal. I don't know, maybe a little journal. So maybe this will take the pressure off of like, a commonplace notebook. I've been watching a lot of videos and I've been inspired. This would be a cute commonplace notebook. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but it might be that. But that is everything that I got. So just to sort of recap, we have Grimoire Girl, which I talked a lot about, which I think is actually a really good book. I like the book. So I'm going to tell you that right now. Let me get to the cover again on these. I do kind of like the idea of having this as a paper or as a physical copy. I'm not gonna lie, but I was able to write really fast on my Kindle, so that's okay. So Grimoire Girl, Creating an Inheritance of Magic and Mischief is actually a very interesting book. Cool stories. I wouldn't say name drops, but these are her friends, and she mentions certain people. So that might be fascinating for some of us, like if you know who she's talking about. Edgar Allan Poe Tarot, which was just not something I was looking for. I found it and it was only $12 from Barnes & Noble. And I have this love affair with his work, so of course I had to get it. Something I have been wanting to get. It's a very recent published book, by the way, Blood, Sex, Magic, and I cannot wait to get into this book. This I'm hoping is something that's going to be good for my Witchy library, and as a reference, the Tarot and Astrology Handbook. I'm looking forward to it. This is a heavier, like for it to be paperback, is kind of heavy now. Like this is so light, this is so heavy. So there's like a lot of pages in here. Yeah, we're almost 300 pages, and it's small writing. So definitely use more, not like a read through, but reference. So that was the Barnes & Noble haul. And then wish me well. I want to put this thing together and I want to create this. So this is basically what it'll look like when I'm done. And I'll have this scene and I'll have it on my shelf out in my living room area, just a little section. And of course, this really cool washi that I don't know if you can make out, but it's cool to me. I like the way it looks. It's pretty. And a Hello Kitty notebook, which I don't know what I'm doing with, but you know, don't we all do that sometimes? Anyway, maybe a commonplace notebook, who's to say? And then this cute little pen case to add to my collection of other pen cases that are a little bit more organized, because what I've been using, which I've outgrown, and this is pretty full, is I've used this. This is from the Happy Planner. It's all faded now. The Happy Planner is supposed to go like in your planner. I can't, this thing is filled. with markers and stuff like that. So I'm going to start transferring some of those into here. I think some of them, and I still have like this. I was trying to decide, do I want to take these out the case and put them in another case, or is this fine? Because I like these and I know where they are and I know where to use it. So maybe I'll keep it separate and just take the ones in here and put them in a new case. Decisions. So thanks again for watching. I'm Ika, this is Leap Taken, and this was my Witchy review. Hopefully, if you like any of the books, I put links in the description. Check those out. It is affiliate links, so I get just a couple little coins if you want to click on them, so thank you. If you want to purchase it that way through Amazon. Other than that, like I said, I got the other stuff at Barnes & Noble. The Edgar Allan Poe tarot cards. They probably have them on Amazon too. I don't know. But yeah, I am all set. So everybody enjoy their weekend. After reading that book, I'm going to do some things that I love to do, some old things that I kind of was really interested in. So maybe I'll watch an old black and white horror film or something like that. The Birds. I think I might want to watch that. I'm going to have to see if I can find it someplace and watch it. All right, so thanks again. Bye. I'm glad it was fun. All right, bye. Thanks everybody for watching.